Uh, yeah. One day I'll have a setup that makes sense. Right now, damn iPad balancing on a rope is what I have to do. Oh. Hey. Actually. Get some light. Probably push this back a little bit. Hold on. This can stay standing. Hey, look at that. Huh. Yeah, just give me a second. So, if you didn't know, first of all, my bad. What's the problem with the population? This is a live for do-rag with the cape roll. Clearly, I don't got on a do-rag. And, again, this isn't a scripted episode for the most part. It's just about highfalutin black folk or whatever operating in the spaces and the places, because things have been getting a little wild out there. For one, ooh, excuse me. So today is May 15th, and May 15th is the founding day of Sigma Pi Phi. Sigma Pi Phi was founded on May 15th, 1904 in Philadelphia, if I'm not mistaken. Sigma Pi Phi is the Boule. The Boule was founded by six men, 4 medical doctors, 1 dentist, one pharmacist, who at that time was a second-year medical school student. I just read that by mistake. I didn't need to read that part. But Boule means Council of Chiefs. It's Greek. Because for some reason, black people wanted in on the whole fraternity thing. And the Boule is a part of the Divine Nine. And that's just like 9 like Greek black organizations or whatever have you. The Boule is it is a postgraduate fraternity for well-established and well-accomplished, black folk in what is called America. It is quite interesting, the cast of characters that have been in the Boule, that were recruited by the Boule. Why can't I? Oh, okay, I see. Damn. My bad, I got sidetracked. But the Boule is like I said before, it's a postgraduate organization that only at the time, and I think still now, only allows in, it's an all-man organization, because the women that are partners with the men that are in the Boule, they call chusas, which is like some other Greek nonsense, but those are the wives and the girlfriends or whatnot. But the Boule is supposed to be the best of the best. You have to be established, you have to be accomplished to be a part of the Boule. And, again, the cast of characters that are a part of the Boule are very wild. So, as I said before, the Boule was founded in Philadelphia. One of the famous, one of its famous members, just to kind of start it off so you can understand the people that are in this organization, that are in this fraternity, this postgraduate fraternity, is Mayor Wilson Goode. Now, if you don't know who Mayor Wilson Goode is, then I want to take you back to 1985, the MOVE bombing. Mayor Wilson Goode was the mayor who ordered the bombing of MOVE. Like the 60 row houses that were destroyed, displacing hundreds of people, killing several people. Mayor Wilson Goode was one of the boule that caused that. Why does the screen keep turning off? And again, that's only one of the cast of characters, because the people that are in the boule, your political affiliation doesn't really, is that what qualified him for the org? Right, Pat. Yeah. Give me 1 second, Pat. I don't know why my damn phone wants to auto lock. Whatever. But excuse me. So yeah, Mayor Wilson Goode is part of the boule. As I said before, and as I repeated, the boule is a postgraduate organization. You have to be the top of the top to join this organization. It is basically like, if we want to say like the Illuminati is like, everybody been talking about the Illuminati since forever. It's always Illuminati this, Illuminati that. Then you want to say like the boule is like, it's like black people trying to do capitalism. The boule is like black people trying to do the Illuminati. Essentially, the boule is just the black Illuminati. And again, it's an all-man organization. So, I'm going to run off another, and again, there's a lot of people that are part of the boule, but I gave you Mayor Wilson Goode, right? The MOVE bombing of 1985. You know who else was boule? Colin Powell, the Secretary of State, the one who lied about the yellow cake uranium in Iraq, which, helped manufacture consent. No shout out to Noam Chomsky for the invasion of Iraq. Yeah. Colin Powell is part of boule. Also, actually before I get there, but yeah, so not everybody that was part of boule was awful. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King was boule, but it was said that they kind of started to step away from him. And you want to know why they started to step away from Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King? Because of his Vietnam stances. Because of the reason that he was anti-war. Because they thought that was a little bit too much. Because the boule, again, is the black Illuminati. And this idea of the people, excuse my cough, I've been battling like a sinus infection or whatever have you. This idea of there being a certain group of people that do a thing, or there being a certain group that's above reproach. Everybody is capable of nonsense. Community is interpersonal. It is not just because we look alike. I say this all the time, even though I don't like to use the word. I don't know these niggas. So, just because we cool don't mean I know you. So, that don't mean we in community. We could just be associates. That's no disrespect to anybody. It's just to say, to be in community is a serious thing. It's not just because we agree on a couple things. And the reason why I'm so strict about that is because of things like the boule. Because again, this organization is a postgraduate organization that invites in the best of the best black men who have accomplished whatever they've accomplished, whether it be in the medical field, whether it be in politics, whether it be blowing up 60 row houses, whether it be being one of the heads of the snake that caused the invasion in Iraq. I'm very strict about community because the excellence thing is why people feel that the black excellence thing is why people feel that when you see anybody doing anything, we are supposed to big them up. Like Barack Obama wasn't boule, but he had several people in his cabinet that were boule. And it's to say, again, when we initially got Barack Obama, we thought, I was 18, whatever, we thought, oh yeah, you know, it's up. Like, we got our black president. Like Patrice O'Neal joked about, we were going to get white slaves. But just joking. But just this idea that just because this person looks like me, they carry my politics. You don't. I'm not in community with you. I don't know you. So we create these parasocial relationships with whether it be with people on the screen or these false, relationships with people in the streets because we think we know them because they look like us or because they're in the same material conditions. Everybody doesn't react and live the same, because if they did, then we would all be talking and walking and acting the same, and we aren't. That's why community is an interpersonal thing that you have to work on constantly. Or you will get caught up in bigging up war criminals, being like, yeah, we should have voted for Kamala because Kamala was a black lady. But she was a black lady who was openly saying she wanted to create and sustain the most deadly military ever. She was also the black lady saying that she wasn't going to stop arming Israel. So it's like, Pat, good, got elected, promising to get the move prisoners out. Exactly. See? You talking about the Move 9, Pat? Because I remember, because a lot of people don't know about the Move 9. They don't realize that that move moved, no pun intended, to where they were because of the Move 9. So I'm guessing that's what you're talking about. But yeah, but to that point, all right, thank you, Pat. But yeah, like to that point, good, thank you, Pat, for the fucking information, ran on the principles and the lie that, oh yeah, I'm going to get the Move 9 out, it wasn't right. There's no proof that they shot that officer. They got flooded out of their home. Like, that's why there were pregnant women there. For then him to ultimately blow them up and be in a secret society of black people who are the cheap version of the Illuminati. But running on, I'm going to get Move out is going to get a lot of people to react. And it engenders people to want to go out and support that dude. But then when he don't do what you want, then we either get really pissed and protest a little bit, try to get a couple people locally or whatever. But we keep in this cycle. And I'm going to get to that cycle a little bit later because I got to keep running down these boule people. So remember, I said that not every single person that was in boule was an awful human being. Dr. King, who they started to push away from because he was protesting the Vietnam War, I bring him up because in that time period, before the Vietnam War, the other big war that people don't talk about, well, people do talk about, people don't talk about the Korean War, which was a war that was in the middle of World War II and the Vietnam War, but nevertheless, World War II, the U.S. being the only country to ever use nuclear weapons on humans. Ever. 2 cities in Japan. Ever. Only country ever to do it. Right? One of the... J. Ernest Wilkins Jr. is one of the mathematicians who helped create the atomic bomb through the Manhattan Project. The Manhattan Project was a project to make the atomic bomb. J. Ernest Wilkins Jr. was, you guessed it, boule. So, so yeah, it just keeps getting worse. Because as I go by these people, it's going to get even worse. Well, no, nothing gets worse than the atomic bomb, but just like ongoing tyranny and something that's like relevant to now, relevant to my kefir, it's gonna get worse. But this idea that community is not based upon like proper principles is why we are still spiraling as a people. And as a people, I mean just all people. Like as just humans. And I'm speaking to the people that want some form of change, that are in some organization, that are doing the work, that are out there trying to do the work, trying to find like-minded people, are doing the work, are finding like-minded people, are getting local stuff passed, are doing all of that. But the reason why, from what I feel, the reason why it is not a more united front, a more rainbow coalition, is because we are thinking just because you have several organizations fighting against the oppressor, that all of these organizations get along. Some of these organizations might not have the same kind of principles, might not have the same ideologies. Like they might have some stuff that they are on board with, but then they might have some stuff that they that separates them, that causes delineation. And you can have like a group that's like Marxist Leninist, and then you can have like a group that's like strict communists, and they could be going at like it's just it fluctuates as far as like what people believe, what they don't believe, how they operate. And I feel like the only way to heal the nation is through conversation. And I didn't even mean for that to rhyme, but people coming together. Because if we don't, we will keep getting caught up. We will keep having the people who maybe aren't in an organization, or maybe are. It don't even matter. I'm not even going to blame, because then that's causing some kind of like revolutionary chauvinism. So it's going to cause, if we don't have these conversations, if we don't have this understanding of like what we are all fighting for, what we all want to see tomorrow, we are going to constantly be given things that look like us to trick us into nonsense, into doing nonsense stuff. And that nonsense is coming from the fact that the power, the people with the access and control, they realize like, oh, you guys don't have a code of ethics universally. You don't have something that you all run on. You don't have something that you all operate on. So it's fairly easy for us to screw this up, because if we just plop somebody out there that's saying some of the stuff that you might like to hear, doing some of the stuff that you might like to see or whatever, you're going to jump on that. And when that person eventually screwed you over, you're just going to have to start all over again, because you never was able to find any kind of proper footing. You were given, for instance, given the Kamala Harrises and people thinking like, oh yeah, you know, well, we can organize better under Democrats than we can Republicans. It's like, fam, this is 2026. The Epstein files have shown you that there is only one side. There is no such thing as two sides, or both sides are bad. No, it's just one side is bad. That's everybody. That's the Democrats and the Republicans. It's a uni party. If the Epstein files didn't show you nothing else, it definitely showed you that. Give me 1 second. Yeah, if it didn't show you nothing, it definitely showed you that. So this arguing of we get this person to do this, we get this person to do that, it's like they all play for the same team. I will never believe that as far as establishment politics, that two political parties that are only separated by an aisle have any actual differences between them. It's just nonsense. It's lies. And we get caught up in establishment politics and celebrity and just some people you might have around your way that speaks some shit that you might like to hear, because we this is just everybody, we aren't allowing ourselves to be grounded in a principle and like certain things that just aren't going to fly, like certain things that just, regardless of whatever your organizations or groups are on, just certain things that you are just not going to allow yourself to be a part of or listen to without any kind of pushback. Because if if we don't have a way to push back on certain things that people are doing or saying in a way that's like very abrupt, very, you don't even necessarily got to scream and yell, but if you need to scream and yell, sure, but just letting people know where you stand, and in turn helping organizations to organize, but not get caught up in chasing after these false prophets or these people who sound like they're speaking your politics but don't really operate like you do. Whether that be people that are looking for you to vote for them so they need a ballot, or that be just somebody around the way that's speaking how you like. Like, again, the Boule are established through this idea of this black excellence, and this black excellence is something that they sell us because they want black people to chase black excellence, to chase black capitalism, because Richard Nixon and them wanted black folk to not do revolutionary shit. That's the point. That's why, like William F. Buckley, that's why he stated scattered success equals, what is it? Scattered success promises universal hope or some shit like that. Or no, scattered success breeds universal hope. Like this idea that if we can get these black folk to chase after capitalism, if we can get them to get into very selfish ways about how they operate, they won't properly form community. Like individualism is made through community, right? Selfishness isn't. To be an individual, you need a community. So that way you can have things that you learn, principles, whatever that you learn, things that you take away from them, to be an individual. Being selfish is not individualism. Those two things aren't the same thing. Being an individual comes from being in a community. Being selfish just comes from you wanting everything for yourself. Comes from you only thinking about consumption. And consumption by any means. And that's what the people with the access to control want us to be. It's selfish. And if you're selfish, you won't form community. And if you don't form community, you will have a bunch of subgroups all fighting for kind of the same thing, but some things differ. But since they never figure out what differs and what's the same, we keep butting heads. Like it makes, to me personally, it makes absolutely no sense that there's like thousands and thousands of organizations. Like, don't get me wrong, it makes sense that it's different orgs because there's different groups of people, different representations of people. But there's like so many different orgs of like the same kind of ideologies and the same kind of principles, but they don't know it. Or they only differ a little bit and they don't combine in a way that like the network that they have, because some orgs have networks where they deal with other orgs, so they are still connected, so there's networks. But they don't just, like, screw the network, bruh. Like, just be one thing. Like, rather than having a bunch, like, rather than it being a bunch of folk all around, just be the Power Rangers, just one group. But, again, this isn't to say that having different orgs, again, you want people, different representation, but it's to say that some of those sometimes so many of those happen because so many people don't speak to other people in such a way that they don't figure out that, oh shit, my org and your org think the same fucking thing. We could just come together. They keep us distracted from tackling the primary contradiction by making us fight over these small issues. Exactly. Exactly, Pat. And I appreciate that you're here, Pat, because it's just been me and you. Shit. Be right back. But yeah. And they have us fighting and arguing over these small issues because they know that the way to defeat them is community. Like, it starts with that, right? But if we don't have that, then we just keep getting caught up in this idea that we all have the answer. Like, that everybody is trying to have the answer to the primary contradiction, which is like imperialism and colonialism, because capitalism is under that. So you can have people arguing like, and remember at the beginning of the ongoing, because this is an ongoing Nakba. At the beginning of the ongoing Nakba, after October 7th, you had folk, black folk, you have real people and people just bullshitting on the internet saying like, oh yeah, black people shouldn't be worried about Palestinian, blah, 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 this and the third. They don't care about our struggle. Why should we care about theirs? Yada, yada, yada. You have people in orgs, out of orgs saying shit like that. And it's wild. And it's like, you sound like a Boule person. You want to know which one you sound like? Ralph Johnson Bunch. Ralph Johnson Bunch was the first black person to win a Nobel Peace Prize in the 1950s. He won that Nobel Peace Prize. It was for him helping justify, negotiate, and solidify right. It was for him to help. It was for him helping justify and negotiate and solidify the interloper colony Israel against the Palestinian people. Because during the Nakba of 1948, Ralph Johnson Bunch negotiated an armistice with Egypt, Jordan, Lebanon, and Syria to not intervene. Like, that's what Ralph Johnson Bunch won a Nobel Peace Prize for stopping people uprising against tyranny. And he was Boule. And this was in 1950. Now, if you don't remember Ralph Johnson Bunch, if you happen to have seen that really awful thing they had on PBS, I think it was, with showing how Jewish people and black people have been for the same struggles and yada, 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 but like misrepresenting so many facts, misrepresenting so many people, not including so many facts, not including so many people. Ralph Johnson Bunch was included in that because I think he was also a part of the NAACP. But, yeah, exactly. Because I think he was also a part of the NAACP. Ralph Johnson Bunch won a Nobel Peace Prize for negotiating the end of a possible revolution. Think about that. In the 50s, well, he did it in the 40s. In the 40s, a black man was like, hey, I know we getting lynched and we getting set on fire and we getting eaten by alligators and we being assaulted, essayed, and all of that. And we living in poor material conditions. But I'm going to take my happy black ass over to Palestine, and I'm going to tell all of these neighboring countries, don't fight against the white people because, hey, we'll give you some stuff if you don't, especially Jordan. We'll give you some stuff if you don't. That man was a part of the Boule, because obviously he's dead. And also, to keep in line with the Dr. King of it all, Andrew Young is Boule. Mr. Dr. King called him a capitalist guy. That dude, Andrew Young, Mr. being sad that he never got arrested and never really struggled because the whole time he was just trying to be famous. That Andy Young. The Andy Young that I think Andy Young lied on Dr. King's name about him being about infidelity, if I'm not mistaken. I know it was one dude and one woman that lied about it. I think Andy was one of them too. Nevertheless, Andy Young, Boule, Ralph Johnson Bunch. Blow my nose real quick. Boule. Keep that in mind. Boule. It's things like that someone like Ralph Johnson Bunch was able to compartmentalize the struggle of black folk. Because wait a minute, while we here, Ralph Johnson Bunch, he damn sure was a part. He damn sure was a Johnson Bunch. Yeah, I know he was a diplomat, and I'm not talking about Jim Jones and Cam. Ralph Johnson Bunch. Yeah, Ralph Johnson Bunch, right. He was a part of the board of directors for the NAACP for 22 years. This man went on to tell Palestinian people, Egyptian people, Jordanians, Syrians, like people in Lebanon, like Lebanese people, to not fight against colonization. But we hold the NAACP in high regard. And this isn't to say that there isn't, obviously there's great things about the NAACP, historically speaking, but the critiques I feel like don't exist in a way that could inform today, in that Ralph Johnson Bunch, exactly, Ralph Johnson Bunch was a part of the board of directors for 2 damn decades in the NAACP, won a Nobel Peace Prize for basically defanging and crippling a revolutionary spirit. But he's a part of an organization that is fighting for the betterment of black people in America. But then it makes you think, if you have the capacity to do that, then what was your actual idea? And what is the actual idea of so many other people like Ralph Johnson Bunch when they're trying to fight for the betterment of black people in America? Are you just trying to make black people American? Because there's a big difference. Because black folk, as much as black people want to argue, my family built this country, we were born here, blah, 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 blah. You're not American. There's absolutely no way a people that was seen as property are somehow a people in a place where they were seen as property. You don't go to a basketball game, see a basketball player with a basketball, him shoot said basketball, and then now the basketball decides to now be the basketball player. No, you are forever the basketball. So makes you think about Ralph Johnson Bunch, the NAACP, some of those folk in there. Some people today, like the Kamala Harrises, the Obamas, not Jesse Jackson, the Al Sharptons, just so many folk, the Jamal Bowmans, all of these people. It makes you think that, oh, you just kind of want to carve out a space to be American in a place that you can't be. But some of the arguments that you make sound similar to some of the arguments and critiques that people have, every day in their day-to-day life. So they'll be on the side of that person, these politicians, and or they'll just hear those things and argue them amongst their people, amongst their community. And it causes these contradictions that turns into hypocrisy and blah, blah, blah. But it's so much confusion because it's the illusion, and I don't mean for that to rhyme, because it's the illusion of a united fight and a united front against tyranny. Because there's so many people out here who have issue with the people with access and control. But the issues that they have, which amongst all groups or whatever have you, justify however they feel, they don't want to really peel back. All right, you want to fight for X, Y, and Z, but you do realize that tomorrow everybody else is still going to be there too. So what happens to everybody else? What happens to those orgs you don't talk to or aren't aligned with, or those people you don't talk to or aren't aligned with? Like, what happens? Like, Rainbow Coalition, a real community, like conversation has to happen now. All of that has to happen now, because what happens the day after? Because the point of any of this is that we know one person can't do anything, and one small group can be influential, but ultimately still can't do anything because there's a lot more of them. It will be a lot more of them than that small group. But if more people were on the same type of timing, educationally speaking, having a political education, it could save a lot of people from a lot of the nonsense. A lot of the nonsense is the black capitalism, is the boule way of thinking of things. It's the understanding that the people that you need is everybody until you don't need everybody. In that there has to be open communication. We have to all try to connect. And that doesn't necessarily mean you got to stick your neck out there to people who don't want to deal with you to only be faced with hostilities for the rest of your life or whatever have you, or get hurt in the process. No, but what it does mean is that you have to think internationally, globally, tying all things together, or get caught up and think, excuse me, or get caught up and think like you can take your radical way of thinking and then become some kind of politician or whatever and change anything with that. When you know that, again, the system wasn't made for you. Again, the basketball will never be the basketball player. So like another famous person that's in the boule They passed away now. It's John Lewis. John Lewis was a radical politician. He was a radical, activist, organizer, whatever have you. Spoke at the March on Washington for freedom and jobs or whatever. Then he became a politician, and he became the antithesis of what he initially started out as. And it's because you can't fix it from the inside. Again, the basketball will never be the basketball player. Black people will never be American. I don't care. You want to talk about, in the early 1800s, Europe was like, you can't do the slave trade as far as like boats anymore. So there was a lot of localized enslavement on Abayala. So you had enslaved people on those breeding farms having kids who were born here. So then in turn, their kids were born here, yada, yada, yada. So that makes them indigenous and American. Like, no, your ass is still African. This America wasn't made for you. So as the Boule or the Black Illuminati, they want to make sure it stays that way. And they don't want political education to cause proper community connecting and a proper uprising. Another famous person that was in the Boule is Rob Page. Rob Page was the Secretary of Education. He played a major role in the Bush administration. What did he play a major role in? In implementing No Child Left Behind. The No Child Left Behind Act basically just made school about standardized testing and just kids was just passing. Rob Page was Boule. Boule is a postgraduate organization that recruits black excellence black men. Rob Page, No Child Left Behind, was Boule. In punishing disadvantaged schools over testing. Exactly. And that's exactly what it did too. It punished disadvantaged schools for over testing. Yep. And then you have a bunch of surge schools. Give me 1 second. I blow my nose. Exactly. And then, again, like I said before, Barack Obama wasn't Boule, but he had people in his cabinet that were Boule and that used to work at Goldman Sachs and blah, blah, blah. People forget that No Child Left Behind phased out and then became Every Student Succeeds Act. I think that's what it was called. That was Obama's, that face of regime's idea of No Child Left Behind. It was essentially the same thing, just with a different name. But it's again to just show you this idea of there being separate parties and all of this other stuff in establishment politics. If Jeffrey Epstein didn't show you anything else, it showed you that there's no delineation. They're in community. If anything, this is why you are supposed to study your enemy. Because these people are doing all of the things that we should be doing, not the evil stuff, but that we should be doing to stop them. They're in proper community. They're in proper communication. They know how to rally the troops, literally and figuratively. They understand propaganda. They understand it all. They got it all mapped out. Again, the difference is that their community is contractual. Because at any given time, somebody can get, excommunicated. So, looking at the Boule, looking at this idea that these organizations, because again, this is their founding day. Boule were founded on May 15th, 1904 in Philadelphia by 6 black men. They built a Greek organization on the idea of black excellence in the early 1900s. So there were already people on that type of timing. And I don't like to call them sellouts because I don't know, I guess the definition of sellout may have changed, because sellout is someone who was on your type of timing, who you thought was, and then they switched up. Just calling somebody a sellout just because they black, or just because they said some stuff that you used to agree with or agree with, they're not a sellout. They just whatever they was. It's like Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle isn't a sellout. Dave Chappelle is just Dave Chappelle. You can say, oh, well, look at this Chappelle show. Look at his comedy. He was talking about black issues and experiences. It's like, Dave Chappelle's a black man living in America. That's not unique. Like, he was just doing observational humor as a black person. And he just happened to be really good at it. That's not thought-provoking. That's in the sense of like, oh my God, this dude is definitely on that type of time. It's like, no, he's just Dave Chappelle. Like, what are we talking about? Like, a sellout would be John Lewis. He's a sellout. Well, he's dead. He's a sellout. Because he went from being a black radical, getting beat up on that bridge, Bloody Sunday, to being a politician in that same system that he claimed to want to dismantle. That's a sellout. A sellout isn't Dave Chappelle. He's an entertainer. He's Boule. He's the illusion of community. Like, the illusion of community will have you believing these people are on the same type of time that you on. The illusion of community. Wilson Good, the man who, shout out to Pat, the man, Wilson Good, who ran on wanting to free the Move 9 for being wrongfully arrested and subsequently prosecuted and sentenced for a crime they didn't commit, to then order the police to bomb them in 1985. That's a sellout. Although you could say, well, he's a politician. I'll give you this. He's local mayor. The space between my fist and Mayor Good is closer than if he's in Washington. So political people, now we've learned from being screwed over so many times, but political people act as if they're running on the idea of being a voice of the people, but then in reality, they really are a voice for the people. And then they're a voice for the people who are the people that are paying them to do what they get to do. And that ain't us. But they lie to you. That's a sellout. Ralph Johnson Bunch The man who was a part of the board of directors for the NAACP. The man who negotiated the defanging of a possible revolution. That's a sellout. Dave Chappelle is an entertainer. Barack Obama is a politician. He's not a sellout. Like I said, Wilson Good was of that time where people were still learning. Barack Obama is a politician. It's not a sellout. Jasmine Crockett is a politician. Not a sellout. Maxine Waters is a politician. Not a sellout. Cory Booker is a politician. Not a sellout. Jamal Bowman. All of these people, they're politicians. They aren't sellouts. They're going to say whatever they can possibly say to get to the position that they want to get in. Because they lack scruples. They lack principle. They play on the illusion of community. The boule is black excellence. How does one become a part of the black excellence? You completely negate the idea of community. Now, like when I say, just because we look alike, don't mean I know you. That doesn't mean I have hostility towards you. But if I'm looking to be black excellence, then I do. Because now it's an issue. Because now it's who's fighting to get to the top. This falsehood that we are given with seeing people that look like us say things or do things or try to steer people in certain directions because their politics might be on what we on. We need to be very stern about how we operate. You need to be very principled. You need to build real community, interpersonal communication. Like, that's the only way community can be built. People's interpersonal skills got to get better. Because in the end, all we got is us. And I'm talking everybody, Rainbow Coalition type situation. You can't possibly think that your one self or your one org or your one group of people is going to be the people to spark the revolution and then be the vanguard. It's like, I'm tired of, because I said this earlier in a live chat and people were confused because I didn't explain myself. But I feel like people are underpants gnoming the revolution. And if you don't know what the underpants gnomes are, it's from South Park. It's when South Park was funny. Years ago, they had an episode about this kid named Tweek who suffered from like anxiety, ADHD, everything. And he was like addicted to coffee. But he told his friends that at night, gnomes would come in his room and steal his underwear. And they thought, rightfully so, that Tweek was tweaking. Until one night they spent the night at Tweek's house. Then, around whatever time they was up, these little gnomes came out of the closet singing a song and took his underpants. And they went about their business. And so the kids followed the underpants gnomes to their cave, and the underpants gnomes let them in on their operation. Give me 1 second. The underpants gnomes let them in on their operation. When I repost this, I'm not going to put up the Underpants Gnomes origin story because Comedy Central is really a stickler about copyright. So just listen to this explanation. They get to the Underpants Gnomes base of operation. The Underpants Gnomes let them in on why they're the Underpants Gnomes. So they break down their plan. It's pretty simple. Step 1, we take underpants. Step 2, step 3, profit. So the issue with the Underpants Gnomes is that they've never figured out step 2. But in that episode, the kids, rightfully so, asked them, what the hell is step 2? And they're like, what? What do you mean what is step 2? And when he asked that, the Underpants Gnome is like offended. And you hear other ones that are working in the back like, yo, you didn't tell them our plan? Like, yeah, I told them the plan. And then that same gnome runs the same game. Step 1, we take the underpants. Step 2, step 3, profit. And the joke goes on for the episode until it's up on a big ass erase board, and it's again asking this: step 1, underpants. Step 2, step 3, profit. And I'm saying that we are underpants gnome in a revolution, and that if we aren't building proper community through interpersonal skills, if we aren't having those conversations amongst ourselves, amongst our people, whoever you think your people are, if you're trying to gain in more people, if you're trying to hear people who you before didn't listen to, yada, 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 you are limiting the ability for an actual strong front against the nonsense. So you are underpants gnoming the revolution. In that step 1, you get angry and you organize with your people, but you leave everybody out. Like, you leave everybody else out. But you got your people, whatever group you're dealing with, whatever set of amount of people you're dealing with, you know the opposition is, but somehow the opposition that everybody knows about, you know about that one, but then you also kind of, subsequently, by not really aligning with, subsequently by not really opening up your mind to like hearing how certain people come to certain conclusions in, you know, different orgs or whatever have you, or different people who kind of agree with what you agree with. And now this is me just talking about people that are in the same wavelength with you. Now I didn't even get to the people that you gotta bring in that are caught up in the nonsense. But so you just want to be, you know, revolutionary chauvinist. So you like, nah, I'm putting those other orgs. We the best org. So step 1, you get angry and organize. Step 2, step 3, you won and now the revolution is over. But how? Like, what the hell was in step 2? Where's the step 2? The angry and organization part, the step 1, the getting people together, your local groups or whatever have you, the cutting out the fat, the realizing like, what are we all here for? What are we all against? Okay, now these smaller arguments against the system or against a possible tomorrow, we need to have on our way to defeating the overall thing. But we all gotta all be against the overall thing. That's first and foremost. And then the smaller arguments we gotta still have as we gotta still struggle through as we defeat the overall thing. And then while doing that, you gotta educate as many as you can. And, you know, alhamdulillah, so many organizations offer political education through their orgs, which is awesome. And they try to get into these communities, to talk to these people, to enlighten and refine and define people's political educations. Because without that education, you won't know who to be mad at. And then it will cause you to become liberal. And you don't want to do that. So you don't want to underpants gnome the revolution. You don't want to, step one, get angry and organize with only your people and limit the space for you to grow. And you just want to be the vanguard. Because step two is going to be, and then step three is you won, the revolution is over. But how? What does tomorrow look like? Like, how are we going to get to tomorrow? How is that community going to be built? How are we not going to allow ourselves to be caught up in the nonsense? How are you going to bring other people along? How are we going to remove ourselves from being political chauvinists? I'm sorry, revolutionary chauvinists, intellectual chauvinists, or whatever have you. How do you do that? You do that by honestly building community. And I feel like it's definitely possible. We can definitely do it. Because obviously we know there's more of us than them. But if us ain't organized, them win. Them organized. Them evil and them organized. Them know what they doing. Them been doing it. That's why them been doing it. We still talking about them. So they winning. They up on the board right now. So, with all that being said, make sure to keep your do-rag cape rolled. Peace. How do I turn this off? God damn. Nope. I never know how to turn this off. Thank you, Pat. Appreciate you being here. As I struggle to turn this off. I'm still be here for a little bit once I figure out how the hell what there we go. Alright. Peace, Pat.